All right, friends, now we're going to look at the large organization. And when we're engineering and we're using this as our new org chart, okay, I'm going to bring this to you in a very simplistic terminology here. And I'm going to show you the very simple aspects of it. And we just went through how to look at the penta and how to see the gaps. So now what we're doing with the large organization, which we call this the WA, W-A, it's interesting. There's, not that I watch a whole bunch of TV, but my husband has it on at times. There's a commercial about WA and what it is. Really, it's joy and fun in the Japanese language. So that's really, it was fun to hear that there was a term in a language that actually resonated with this. And this is also called the WA. So this is a large organization. So what I'm going to show you is that now you know how to build a penta. Now we're going to look at this through the organizational channels. And each one of these channels, you can grow pentas inside of them. Okay. And I'll show you that what that looks like and how the entire body graph plays a part into the creation of the WA. So if you have any one of these particular channels, what you're going to notice is that you're going to be pulled into large groups and you're going to feel actually more comfortable in large groups. And you hold, I don't really want to say a management role, but really it's the communication factor. So it is like a management role in traditional language in business. And we're going to get into that. If you just have a trait or a gait in one of these strengths, you might also be pulled in to the group. However, you want to use your decision making because, say, for example, you only have the 60 and you get pulled in. Well, if somebody there has the 60 and the 3, you're going to feel compromised. So, for example, this is called innovation. And there might be this tension between the manager of the innovative group or sector of the business. So you want to just trust strategy and authority. Always, the mechanics don't really, they don't lie, they're truth. So it's to just see it. So when you have a business and you guys are engineering your businesses or using these org charts, what you're going to lean into is you have to see the entire picture, because once you see the entire picture, then and only then are you going to be able to build and create businesses that are highly functioning and also in the state of acceptance. Because if someone is triggering, for example, someone, we don't have to make it a dramatic effect in the business, but we can see it and recognize it and then maybe do some shuffles or shifting, because that's exactly what the Pentas shows us, is that we have the capacity to move people around, okay? So these 6 strengths provide particular roles and communication styles in a large group. So let's get into this. Again, I really want you to understand that this is a 3 years raw took to teach this. Now I'm giving you a very simplified version because I think that human design is in the fabric of the consciousness now. So just having the overview will allow you to step deeper into understanding how to use this material in your own way. And if you're in the mentorship, we can go into different aspects. We can pull up different teams that you're working with, and we can lean in and see, if there's any struggles with you providing the information and then working and changing out their organizations. So in the WA, there's these 6 particular channels, and very similar to the Penta, where the lower Penta is quote unquote, I don't want to say doing all the work, but they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Again, if the lower penta isn't, or the lower wa isn't operating and functioning correctly and their lines of communication aren't happening, then it's really difficult for the business to express. It's really difficult for the business to be competitive and to move forward in their vision if they don't actually have the lower wa solid. So the 3 and the 60, this is, if we were to just take a look at this in human design terminology, the 60 is what's old, and the 3 is what's new. So innovation tells us that in order to build something new, we actually use the 60, the old stuff, and keep on innovating on the old stuff. So very similar when they say, like making a new mouse trap, right? Remember the mouse traps that were the wood, and then they had the lever that snapped down and hopefully killed the mouse immediately. Then they went to different mouse traps where the mouse went in and couldn't get out. So then it was more humane. You could take the mouse outside and let him out. Now I see there's mouse traps where you give them basically a ladder up onto a pail, and they fall into the pail of water and they drowned. So not very humane, but again, another option. So we're always looking at how can we use the old structure that we currently have, that old foundation, and build something new. Okay. The 59 and the 6, well, this is the regulator in human design terminology, and this is the binder. But in this is the interaction. So how are we interacting? What is the environment that is built into the organization? And then the investigation aspect truly is, how's everybody, how does the human resources, because that's really what this side is, it's the human resources. So how do we create this container where everyone feels as though they have a place? There's an environment where we're investigating incorrect behaviors in the environment. And that's really what HR does. It tries to keep a cohesion happening in the organization. Now, if we move over to logic, in human design terminology, this is the mother, father, and the guardian or the enforcer of the rules. Here, it's all about logic. So this is where we find security. If we don't have policies and procedures, the process doesn't feel very secure. And without that security, there can't be any recognition. So if someone's doing their job really well and nobody's there's never been a process laid out, so we have no measurement tool, no logical tool to use, well, then it's difficult to recognize them. But this is where we create the rules and the laws, so that security, people feel safe walking into your business, people feel safe working in your business, and they're recognized for the contribution that they provide to the organization. And then the 14 and the 2. So the 14, that power skills, this is all about finance. So this is where all the finances are taken care of all the time. When we look at the penta, and even in a family or a business, remember that 14 was that resources, that generative energy to create the capacity so that the business could step into the vision. Very similar here. And the 2 is about this planning. So the 2 is this vision. So the direction of the company, this is the funnel. If there's no funnel, if all the pieces and parts are scattered everywhere, there's no solid direction, right? Like Nike started off as Nike selling shoes. Once Nike understood how to sell shoes, how to make shoes, how to perfect their shoes, then they branched out into clothing, accessories, bags, all those kind of things. But without that solid funnel, that one thing, if they would have just thrown everything out there, would have been very difficult to market this business because nobody would have had a focus. And then we're trying to hit everyone instead of one sector, and then let that sector build a reputation for the company and then move forward. Then we have the competitiveness. So in human design language, this is the warrior and the priestess. Here, it's actually the 25 is capacity and the 51 is competition. And this is where we get our competitiveness. So when I take a look at this, because this is individual, and I get it in the WA, there is no individual. It's this trans-auric field. Competition is about getting better on the inside. When I see it in a design, it's about getting better, being competitive with self, being more awake and aware, and moving itself into this place of individuality. And here, the competitiveness, yes, you're going to look outside the business a little bit. However, you never want to be chasing your competitors. You want to be creative inside of your own business. Have that creativity flow, that innovation, that security, that interaction, those directions. So now that competition is internal to continue to get better. Because once we are in the position of chasing our clientele, once we're in the position of chasing our clientele or our competition, that's when things start to fall apart. Everybody starts to get too stressed. And the business will, have such a defective energy that people will leave. So this really is about internalizing this first before we go taking a look at our competitors and trying to outcompete them. And then the 6th is the 2145, which is the hunter and the master or mistress. This is the implementer here when we look in the WA, and the educator. So you'll notice that the implementer in the Penta was the first gate. The implementer here in the WA is the 21st gate. So this is like the CEO, the 21, and the 45 is the president. Okay. Now we're going to just break down each one of these so that as you're looking at organizations, you can see exactly how everything starts to play in. So in the innovation, which is the 60 and the 3, this is about keeping the large group relevant as the evolution happens in business. Again, Blockbuster and Netflix. Blockbuster had physical items. There was an experience because people got to go to the video store. They got popcorn and snacks, and they got to look at all the covers of the movies. And now you just turn on your TV and you do the exact same thing on Netflix, but there's not the same experience. However, society trained human beings to Netflix. Blockbuster didn't want to go this way. They said it would never happen that people would take away the experience of coming into the store and picking out a movie, that they would just do it from their own home. They were banking on the experience, and Netflix was banking on the convenience. And Netflix won. So this is about really looking at the trends. What are we moving towards, and innovating. So brings mutation and a pulse to the organization. So the 60, this is acceptance in the human design terminology, is keeping the continuity string from the old structure to the new. The third gate is all about ordering. It's creating something new to keep the group vital. This is your research and development department and your trending committee. So there is an entire website called trends.com. And that's all, like, this guy has a massive amount of data to see what's trending, so that affiliate marketers, Amazon sellers, the brick and mortar people, they can get in on what is the up and coming trend. He uses all the data from Google, YouTube, Amazon, all of it, brings it in. And then his department does all the research and development. Like, his website is doing all the research and development and seeing what's trending. Like, he built an entire business just around this aspect. But in all organizations, we need to have this department. If it's a large organization, that's where the research and development lies. Now, remember, in the Penta, it was actually in the 7 and the 31 was our research and development. So you're going to have pentas inside of this WA. We're going to continue to grow these pentas, because once you have 3 pentas, now all of a sudden you have a WA, you have a large organization. And then we just keep adding on different pentas, and we can engineer this how we need to, so that everybody in the pentas are organized through these channels. So innovation, you can have an entire penta that is just built for innovation. So who will help you out in the pursuit for innovation? If you have one of these gates or traits, you're going to be pulled in to assist with innovation. So this power base, that's what this is called. This is called a power base. The 60 and the 3 has to have people help it. So you can have this as the innovation manager. So the innovation manager needs assistance, because what's happening here is that we want to take this product out into the hands of the people that want to buy it. How do we do that? Well, we need people to help us. So inside this particular gate or channel, strength or organizational focus here, the organizational communication channel, OC. We're going to use contemplation. This is the new product. What's happening now in the marketplace? This is trendiness. The 57 is the next step, the intuition of what to innovate. The 28, take the risk and create something new. This is the game player. Then we have the 38, fighting to get what's new accepted. The 12, there's caution here. And why is there caution? It's the emotional caution in the present. So we want to be cautious, right? If we pull the trigger too fast, on the trend might fizzle out really fast. So we don't want to be the last in the trend, for sure. But we want to be cautious so that we know if we're going to invest our money as an organization Is this the trend that we want to jump on? Is this the trend that we want to be known for? So the 22 is all about truly, what does the customer really want? What does the customer really want? And then the 55, this is the expression of the spirit and the romance of the customer. So this is where we romance the customers to get onto that new trend. This can be bonuses. This can be seduction. How are we going to romance and get the spirit of the customers behind the product? And then the 39 is all about provoking them to fall in love with the product. So like Apple products did this beyond what anybody else had seen in the marketplace. Apple products romanced their clients. And I said this in another video, but I am not an Apple's product girl. However, people that have Apple products will actually keep the boxes, and they will put them on their shelves as decorative items. And like this, it's like a trophy. They're in the group, they're in the community. They were seduced by and romanced, and there's a spirit in that customer. They'll stand outside for hours. They will pay exorbitant amount of money. However, that's okay, because they are in the innovative trend. So in a large organization, we have to have these people working for innovation. Once we have these people working in conjunction with the innovative energy, the manager, poof, all of a sudden, what happens is the business stays at a space where it's ahead of the competition, again, because it's innovating internally and then externally by romancing the client. So this is just a larger vision of that so that you guys can see it more clearly. Next one, we go to logic. So this is the custodianship. This is where, the mother, father, we want to keep everybody alive. We want to keep everybody healthy. The 50s, the cauldron that is deeply entrenched in, this pot of soup. Everything's in there, and this education. We're enforcing the rules here. If you're not if you're not in the group of quote unquote rules, we're gonna cook you type thing. So logically moving the group into the future by setting patterns, creating systems, dumbing down the step-by-step process for the clients. This is your SOPs, standard operating procedures. You're going to be pulled in because of your logical enforcement abilities. So perfecting and getting better and better and better for the future. The policy and procedure department, the planning department, and the security team. That's what lies here. And who is going to help you out? Okay, it's going to be this power base. So I'm going to go to the next slide because it's a bit bigger. So here again, recognition. If there's no step-by-step process for your employees, how do you recognize them? If they don't feel secure, if they don't know what their job is or what their job entails, they can't be recognized. So this is future-oriented. This is security. We're enforcing laws. We're putting laws into place. And this is where we're molding our talent. All right, so the 63, you want to eliminate doubt. In the logical process, that's what logic wants to do. wants to eliminate doubt because it's saying, here's the step-by-step process. If you just follow it, there's no doubt that you're going to come to a result. 4, it's providing certainty through formulas. This is I'm just going to put in a thing on here so that we can see the body graph while I'm talking. There we go. All right. So the 63 is always trying to eliminate the doubt. The 4 is always trying to create the formulas. And what formulas do is create certainty. So 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 is 2 in math. In math. 1 + 1 = 3 in human design because you're creating a whole nother entity. So the formula creates the certainty. Enforcing the educational understanding of the rules. That's what the 17 does. Here's the rules. Now let's everybody understand them. The 62, selling the facts and the logic to the group. Here's the facts. This is why we do this. Once you get on board and you do the step-by-step process, easy peasy. Everybody wins. The 48, this is simplicity, dumbing things down. So the 48 actually in the human design terminology is depth. There's so much depth in the individual. However, not everybody has that depth. So we want to simplify and dumb down things. So the best marketing, the best packaging, the best processes are simplified so that someone who is, 7 or 8 years old could follow the process. Now, I'm not saying that they're stupid people. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying you want to simplify it so that the instructions are easy. The 16 is all about skills, enforcing and molding the identity of skills for the group's purpose. Always getting people to get better, get better, get better. The 18, correcting those patterns. The police, prevent the challenge to authority. You want a clean house, right? So I have this 18. Authority doesn't want to be challenged ever. So in a large organization, the 18 will prevent anybody from challenging the authority. The 58 is all about enforcing the pressure to remain vital by following the patterns. Follow the darn patterns. Follow exactly what the SOPs are. And the 9, we can't overlook the details, so we have to keep everything in order. And the 52, this is the control mechanism. So one of the examples that I used when I talked about the Making Money series was there's a gym called Curves here in Canada. I don't know if they're in the US. I have no idea, possibly. But basically what it is it's a training circuit. I don't even know if they're still actually around in Canada either. But anyway, it's a training circuit. So what they've done is you walk in the door, you hand your card over to them. They say, okay, you're here, whatever, sign you in. And you go from station to station to station to station. They tell you exactly what to do for your workout and you leave. And it's like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever it is. But it's a control mechanism. It's a fixed pattern. So every time the client walks in the door, there's something exactly the same that they're doing. Maybe the weights might get a little bit more, or the Repetitions might increase a little bit, but it's the exact same control mechanism. So basically, the 5 and the 15 is enforcing the patterns to create a culture. So everybody that walked in that door knew exactly what it was. There was a culture, you moved around, you wore the workout clothes, everybody did their thing. They didn't bounce around and get in anybody's way. There was a culture. The 15 is all about this control mechanism. So it's this reliability. The diversity of the group is controlled. The 7, enforcing the logical leadership, planning for the future. And then the 31, selectivity by enforcing behavior. So this whole thing is about a control mechanism. That's what logic does. And it keeps us on a focus so that everybody feels secure, everybody knows what they're doing, everybody knows what the culture is, everybody knows what the patterns are. And now what can happen is that the interaction that's happening the security inside the business feels correct. It feels very logical. People know exactly, and they feel safe and secure because that's what the spleen is all about. So here in the interaction of the 59-6, this is about bonding. We're family. It's an emotional aspect. Experiencing the group and being part of the group, creating the environment. So this is the team building, the social committee, the recruitment committee. Come join our family. It's about achieving union and regulating the emotional feel of the group. This is where we get interaction, ideals, imagination, the movement towards financial returns. We're in an experience together. So I'll just tell you this really funny story. When I was in the bank, I don't have this. This isn't part of my design. But when I was in the bank, we had this. It was the lottery fund, right? I don't know if your organizations or anywhere you worked ever did this, but we all signed an agreement. We put in $2. I think it was $2 a month or something like that, and signed the agreement that we would, put this money towards lottery tickets. And one lady, she always went and bought them. Well, it was so funny because I had a dream that we won, and there was this ginormous check, and we were all in this picture, and we were, celebrating with each other. So I came to work, and in one of the huddles, I talked about it. And the response of the group, right? They felt like they were in this experience with me, and in my dream, we leaned in. They felt like this, we are family. We're going to do this together. It was unbelievable, the amount of hype that came out of that. And the group for months, like, operated at such a high level because there was hope. And my manager shook his head and said, I can't believe that one dream, you talk to these people about one dream, you get them all hyped up, and look at the cohesion that was just created. Look at the family aspect that was just created. And everybody wanted to, step up and do their part and be in that. They wanted to interact with the group and be a part of it. It was so fun to watch. So now if we look at this is the power base. You're going to be, if you have one of these gates or traits, you're going to be pulled into this interaction. So most likely you're going to get pulled into the team building committee or the social events committee or the recruitment committee. So the 64, it's about being of assistance, doing your job. The 47, this is about the right action in the group to get the work done. How is everybody interacting? The 11, This is all about the harmony of ideas and experiences with others. The 56, this is about selling the group. These ladies, and gentlemen, there was a few men at the bank as well. They went home, they talked to their spouses about it. Like, it was unbelievable, the stories that came out of that situation. The 35 is all about progress. So the group never stops. It keeps moving. There's always this cycle moving around and around and around. Okay. It's going towards this. Are we fulfilling the desires of the group? Does the group feel satisfied? Because that's what this channel actually is all about, is satisfaction. The 36, surrendering to the process, dealing with the daily crisis. Everybody knows that when you work in a large organization, there's drama. That's just what there is. This 41 is all about the contraction. This is the start, the desire to be a part of the group experience. The 30, this, process of accepting the group and surrendering to the group. The 53, the pressure to eliminate the conflict. Give them what they want. The 42, what you start has to be finished. Can't sit still. You keep things moving. The 29, this is all about the commitment to the process and the work. The 46 is all about getting lost in the physical experience. The 13 is about collecting secrets, gathering intelligence. And the 33 is this oversight, sharing secrets. These are the informants. So in this, okay, what I see is the reflectors in a business would do magical here, because they can share the secrets back to the head of the interaction or HR department and say, listen, this is where people are, what they're cranky about. This is what's not working for people. In a team building, this is what they're telling me that they want. So in this, what we're doing is, it's not about quote unquote keeping everybody happy, but yet it is. Because an organization that has a cohesive movement feels as though they're unstoppable. And everybody feels comfortable interacting in the group. And when they're not comfortable interacting in the group, they're most likely going to move on. Okay. So again, you see the similarities between the BG5, the Penta, and the OC16, or these large organizing factors. Again, this is just a larger view so that you can see it. And now when we look at direction, so direction, this is this exact, what's happening with the Penta, it's pretty much the exact same. If we don't have direction, there is no place for the organization to go. So this is about the finances and empowering a directional plan. So if you remember in the Penta, in the 1333, this is a lot about the bookkeeping aspect, right? Writing down where we're spending our money, what we're doing, and keeping track of it. But the actual finance department, when you look at the large organization, sits in the 14 and the 2, because what they do is, this is where the generative energy, this is where the vision, the mission creation, the finance department lies. So that how do we use these resources to fund the correct direction? So a lot of times, this area here, you're going to see this as two pieces, not somebody that one person has this channel. You can, one person can be the manager. But what you'll probably notice is that there's two people holding this management position. Why? Because one is being pulled in to generate the finances. The other one is being pulled in to create the vision of the organization. And then they co-create and collaborate in that direction department, so that the organization can spend its money wisely. And why do I say that you might see this as two people? Because we see here, right here, there's this break from the upper and the lower. So two people can easily hold this particular energy field. Now, is it going to always be like that? No. Okay. It doesn't have to be. You can have one person hold it. However, it does work really well when there's two people holding that space. So who's your power base? 61, this is the inspired idea. The 24 brings it into a rational concept. The 43, the insight for making the concept more efficient. The 23, explaining the plan in detail. The 8, how to explain the plan and make a contribution, so how to get it out into the world. And the 1, ideas become a part of the creative identity of the group. So what you're going to say to me is, geez, direction and the power base sounds a lot actually like innovation, and they're individual. So there's a lot of overlap there. It's very creative energy. It's a visualization energy here. So can these departments, work simultaneously, hand in hand? Definitely can. Definitely can. And you might have one person overseeing both of these possibly, and then have 1, 2, and 3 managers underneath that person. So just know that there's different terminology, different language, and a different way to put through the energy so that the inspired concept can be brought forward. So that's just a larger view. The 51-25, this is about competitiveness. This is the spirit of the business and knowing you have the right product that will benefit those you serve. Courageously dares other businesses to improve. So this energy here is very, very daring. That is what it is designed for. It is daring all the time for people to expand, get better, to be more competitive, to look inwards. That's truly what the energy of the 51-25 does. This is your quote unquote training department. This is serving the management team. Can you be a warrior? And can you lean into the spirit of the business? Competition and capacity, the capacity for competitiveness in its purest form, mutative, innovative, instilled with spirit. This becomes the identity of the business. So what does this look like? What does competitiveness look like? Well, the power base for this is behavior and how to use energy efficiently. So now you might say, but Leann, this sounds a lot like the 14-2 and the 63. Why? Because it's all individual energy. It's coming into the wah, but it feels like it's very creative. So this competitiveness, this is daring. It's very daring energy to I don't want to say put pressure on innovation and put the pressure on the direction, but it dares them to think bigger. It'll go out and actually look at the competition and go out and buy the products of the competition, take them all apart, and then dare to lean in and train other people around the competitiveness of the organization. So even though the 60 and the 3 is all about research and development, the 51 and the 25 is bringing an element of that because it's the training department. How are we going to sell this? How are we going to be competitive? How do we behave in the marketplace? How can we be the most efficient at creating this innovative product and move it out into the organization or the marketplace? So they sound very similar because they're all very creative. And then when we look at management, the tribe, this 2145. So what you notice here is that there's no collective in the WA. It's not about the collective. It's about the tribal creativeness. So the tribe has to come together and the creativeness to be there to move the tribe into the future. So management, like, how do you control people? Well, education. That is probably the highest, like, you're going to spend a lot of money on education if you have a large organization. If you're not spending money on education, then you're falling behind. And CEOs and presidents know that. So the 21 is the implementation. And the 45, this is the figurehead. This is the inspired leader. This is the president. Again, these two actually can work. Like, you want this to be two people. You want this to be two people, where you can have one person be the head here, one person be the head here, one here. You want two here. You can have one here. This you want to have as two people. Why? Because when you have someone who's the CEO and the president, who's implementing it? Because the president doesn't want to implement it. So to have someone that is in the position to implement all of the education, all of the sales training, make sure that the interaction is correct, make sure that the security is correct, make sure that everybody's innovating. Like, the 21 does so much of the oversight of the business and making sure everything is implemented correctly. So inside of this, what you're going to see for the power base is the 54. This is training new talent. The 32. This is hiring the new talent. So once they come on board and they're with you for a while, who actually wants to move up the ladder? Who actually is showing that drive and that ambition to move up into a different, maybe they want to move up into the CEO role. So the 44 is all about the alertness. This is the talent handler. This is where we're, developing the sales aspect. The 26 is sales and marketing. The 26 is even in personal. Anybody with the 26 usually has a very good knack of conversing around sales, because it's not about convincing it. There's this persuasive energy that's there. The 19 is all about the needs. So organizing philosophy, the need for contracts and payroll. The 49 is the principles. So this is the business practicalities, the resource manager. This is where you're going to find hiring and firing here. Even though the 59 and the 6 are the interaction, this is where we see the hiring committee. The hiring team actually supports the management. The 37, enhancing the bonds, and the 40, this is about the love of work. So the 40 is the foreman of the whole thing. So again, as you see, there's multi-layers of, you can see all the management that could actually be here just in this particular power base. These are the people that are truly making sure that the education is in line so that the vision can be harnessed and that they're logically moving into the future. The interaction feels correct for everyone, that innovation is getting out the door, and that they're competitive. That really is what the management, that's their entire role. So if all of this stuff below isn't operating, very similar to the Penta, if it's not operating correctly, then you can, and I've seen this, okay? I've seen this, where management is so out of touch with what's happening inside the organization, and they keep adding on more managers, more layers of managers, another layer of manager, another layer of management, they get quote unquote top heavy, right? I don't know if you've heard that saying or not. They get top heavy, and then they come along and they wipe out all of these managers and they start fresh because they get top heavy. When this isn't working correctly, they think, well, we just need to add another manager. No, you got to go into the underpinnings of the organization. So when I was in an organization, a large organization, I watched this take place where their processes were so dysfunctional that nothing was talking. So it was very difficult for people to do their jobs. One group of people, for example, let's say, because I'm talking about the bank. So we had the ag department, then we had the personal lenders, then we had the teller section, then we had the people that were doing, paperwork and processing, and then we have management staff, and then we have layers of supervisors in that. And there was no cohesion happening. So then they stuck more managers. Well, we'll put this manager here. Then we'll put that manager. And it got to the point where the dysfunction of the internal workings got so bad that all of those management positions were wiped clean. And this is after I left the organization, because I could see what was happening. There was dysfunction. Nobody was talking. Things were starting to get, the cohesion of the groups was starting to pull away, and there was no more glue. And really, in a bank, the glue is your clientele. And nobody was working for the clientele. They were all trying to, I don't know what it was. It was very strange. But this is how large organizations work. So you're going to be called into organizations because you have the ability to see these mechanics. You have the ability to see these mechanics, okay, and walk through where are their issues, who's not doing the job, who is not in the right position, who's not working for whom, how are these organizational channels, are they actually communicating with one another? And if they're not communicating, if there isn't a cohesive communication within these organizations, within each one of these channels of communication, like if all of this isn't having a talk, and they split off into, innovation's over here doing its thing, but direction has no idea. So these guys over here are spending money, and direction thought that they were going to be over here spending money. That's why you need to have channels of communication, and whomever has, these particular gates and traits in their design. Whoops. That's who needs to talk. So these are the people that are your key communicators in a large organization. They're your key communicators. If they are not communicating exactly what's happening in their department to all 6 of the departments, if your figureheads aren't having these conversations, then the organization is no longer an organization, because the lower part, just like the penta, will get tired. It will be exhausted because what's happening at the top is completely not speaking with the bottom. All right, so we will play with this in our mentorship. And if you have questions in the meantime, just shoot them out, and yeah, we'll talk about it.